Hi everyone, Sabrina here with Books of the Wormberg. Here is my review response, complete fallout to Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the latest book in the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. This follows Haymitch's Hunger Games, so that's the 50th or the second quarter quell games. And Suzanne said this book was all about propaganda. And yes, we thought we knew about Haymitch's games. We were lied to, people, because we believed what the Capital told us. So Sunrise on the Reaping opens up. It's Reaping Day, which also happens to be Haymitch's birthday. This poor kid. So the bonus of the Reaping is the fact he gets a lion on his birthday, and no one else does. Yay, lucky him. We meet his mum, his younger brother Sid, beautiful little family. He dotes on his younger brother, he cares for his mum hugely, and he's got a lovely girl who's his soulmate, Lenore, and he's just getting on with life, and he's just very much just living. He helps sell illegal liquor, so he's been doing that. He's obviously got the future of going in the mines, which he's like, well, I'll either be doing illegal liquor making or be in the mines. And he lives his life. And during this reaping, there are going to be double the amount of tributes reaped from each district. So that 2 girls and 2 boys, instead of the obligatory one of each. And Haymitch's name is not called at all. It's a young lad called Woodbine Chance, who we've heard that name before in Songbirds. And the Chance family are like known trouble, known rebellion makers. Haymitch's family name has definitely, he goes, you know, we're known for rebellious acts and that, but the Chance family are even more notorious than the Abernathy family line. Anyway, Woodbine runs. He legs it, and he is gunned down by the peacekeepers in the square in front of everyone, and obviously his mother is absolutely distraught, and Lenore goes to comfort her and bring her away from her dead son. And we've got this hideous creature called Drusilla, who's the Effie Trinket of this Hunger Games, who's basically, look, there's a 5-minute delay between the live showing in the Capitol and what's going on, so you've got 5 minutes to get this sorted, and we are going to redo this. And Haymitch is like looking at Lenore being manhandled by the peacekeepers as they try and clear up the bloody mess, and he gets involved. And Drusilla goes around, you're going to replace him then. So Haymitch has never reaped. He is taken effectively illegally. We all know that there was potential that the reapings were rigged. Here's your proof. Anyway, because of the 5-minute time delay, the whole thing's like replayed. The District 12 have to like play up to the cameras, despite the fact that the victory witnesses horrific murder. And Haymitch is part of the games. We have a Plutarch. Plutarch is there to film the event, and he tries to get the tributes families to react for the camera, and it's really interesting. Lenore, his love, refuses to play for the camera. She won't do it. And there's this phrase that's been coming up, I won't let them use my tears for entertainment. Lenore refuses to let her tears be used. And as Haymitch has been taken off in the train, which is slightly better than the cattle cart that we had in Songbirds, he gets to see Lenore screaming her defiance at the skies in the rain as he goes past. So begins the start of Haymitch's games. Haymitch he's a 16-year-old young lad. He's a bit of a rogue. He just wants to protect the people he loves. He doesn't think he's got much of chance in hell. The odds are literally 100 times against him. Double the amount of tributes, well, there's double the amount of ways I can die kind of attitude. But he definitely learns how the Capital sees the Hunger Games as opposed to the districts. He experiences a bit more of an upmarketed Hunger Games than Lucy Gray was given back in the 10th. So things have progressed in the 40 years between the two prequels. Haymitch has a terrible guy. Like I say, Drusilla is a horrible person, and it's quite nice seeing Maisley, who is one of the other tributes from 12. She is a merchant girl who's kind of like got this reputation for being a bit snobby and having a massive attitude, and she takes no crap from Drusilla. I mean, Drusilla's like rude, barely treats them like human beings, and Maisley's like, I'm not having any of that, and she ends up slapping Drusilla at one point. She gets slapped back for her efforts, but she refuses to back down. It's like, yay Maisley, you have a reputation, but my god, you know how to use it. So yeah, I really like Maisley. Then you have Luella, who is the youngest. She's 12, who Haymitch calls his sweetheart. Basically, she's little sis who lives 3 doors down from him, and he's kind of like vowed to protect her as much as he can. So what happens to her on page 74? So what happens on page 74 with Luella? Bearing in mind, we've only just really got to meet her, and she's this lovely little thing. She knows she's going to die, but she's just so brave about it. And even little Maisley is like, don't let them treat you like animals. Demand on a knife and fork and all that. And, you know, everybody kind of looks after her straight away on the train. I think mainly because she's so young, you know, she is 12. And then page 74, she is dead. And yeah, I had to stop at that point. That was a good 20-minute cry and to reassess and just go flipping heck. And it's ridiculous. They are doing the chariot parade, and this year it's nowhere near as polished and gloss as what Katniss and Peter go through. 12 is a district that has been basically neglected by their fashion designer, by their stylish team. They are literally the laughing stock of all the districts, and so they're packed onto this chariot behind these big old horses who are like being freaked out. There's not enough room for them because there's obviously double the amount of people on the chariot, so Haymitch is like, I've got you, I'll hold you, to Luella. And someone sets off a firecracker. The parade is quite narrow. They've got all these drunk people in the crowd, and they set off a firework in front of their horse, and the horse bolts, and it's horrific. Luella was dead before the games have even started, and Haymitch is like, I couldn't even protect her, I couldn't even keep her safe. And he refuses to let the Capitol, let Snow get away without acknowledging her death. So he takes her body down and lays her in front of Snow, who's up in his balcony where obviously the chariot parade finishes. He lays the body there and he does a slow clap in front of Snow, and it's like, oh Haymitch, you're gonna pay for that big time. You know he's gonna pay for that big time. It's quite horrific actually. And there's all these references to a Mockingjay chick. That's what her young little body reminds him of. And he's got this memory of Lenore singing about the Mockingjay chick that they find who's not going to make it. And it's interesting that we have this little memory of a Mockingjay chick connected to this moment of horrific death for an innocent District 12 tribute. And I like that Watt, who's the other lad from District 12 who comes with him, comes and protects Haymitch. It's like, they're going to come and get her. You need to move away. You need to let them take her. Watt's already knowing that he has, like, got to be level-headed. He is the son of the bookie makers in 12, so he's not very well liked by the other tributes in his district. He's not liked very much by a lot of the kids in the district because obviously his family are taking bets on who's going to survive. But he's a smart kid. He knows his numbers. He can put things together and come up with cracking odds on who you should be betting for, and he's right most of the time. He is absolutely right, and we see him use that to his advantage. I also like that this time Suzanne has given us all the names. So again, with Songbirds and Snakes, she gave us the names of all the tributes. We've got them all in Sunrise on the Reaping. I like that Haymitch has been exposed to all these other names, whereas Katniss is like so wrapped up in just surviving, she doesn't register most of the names from her games. They're just like District 1, District 2. She really struggles to identify the names of the tributes because as far as she's concerned, she's going to be killing them. Whereas for Haymitch, it's like, these are people, and you know, he makes a note that we've got these names and they're listed down in here. And I like that throughout the book Haymitch keeps a tally of all the kids that these games have cost, that it's not just Luella that has died early, that there are others that he acknowledged. So Woodbine, first death of this games, and he wasn't even in the games. Luella, who hasn't even made it to the games, so he goes, we're already down 2 kids and we've got all the other ones to go in the games itself. So they get to the tribute's house where they're staying. It's not as upmarket again, you know, we've got a few years to go before they're treated like the stars that Katniss and Peter are, but it's not bad. So they go in and they meet their mentors. Because District 12 has no official winners, they have to have mentors from other victors, so from other districts, which might explain why District 12 has not really done very well, because obviously why would you want to mentor a kid from a different district to yourself? Again, all about separating the districts, keeping everybody separate and in their place. Why would you mentor a kid from another district at the expense of the kid from your own district? You know, it's this whole thing about we stick together, us districts, but they're all segregated and separated from each other. So this whole giving District 12 mentors from other victors, it seems pretty spiteful to me. But first, like, whoa, oh my god, is Wyrus is one of the mentors who won the previous year in the 49th games by basically outsmarting the arena. And she comes in and she's not the Wyrus we know from Catching Fire. She is smart, she's brave, she's amazing. She's just, you know, I saw a flaw in the system and I used it to my advantage. And she didn't kill anyone in her games at all because she was clever. And then the other mentor is Mags, who walks in. Obviously Mags is the victor from the 11th Hunger Games, and she's very much the motherly figure of this group, and she's the one that Haymitch eventually breaks down and cries over the death of his sweetheart. Yeah, I mean, I know people have complained about the number of cameos, but you think these games are 24 years prior to Katniss's. A lot of the people that Katniss meets during the rebellion and the uprising, they are all 20 odd years older than she is, so they would be from this era, this generation. And you know, we know that things have not been great in 12 post Haymitch's games. You know, there's reference to this in Catching Fire, that the Peacekeepers were pretty horrific, while Haymitch and Katniss's mum Astrid, who gets a name in this book, were young kids. So clearly Haymitch's games was like a trigger point where District 12 suddenly had their behaviour clamped right down on, which was eased as they didn't produce any more victors. Which is why Katniss, who again is 16 in her book, doesn't know a time when the Peacekeepers actually weren't that vicious. She knows them as quite lax. Whereas Haymitch and Astrid both remember Peacekeepers who were horrific. So it makes sense that we would see people that are that little bit, that generation up from Katniss, involved in the rebellion, because they've already been living this. I'm not bothered that we have these cameos because it makes sense when you consider the age of people, the fact that Mags was a victor and so was Wyrus, and therefore it's perfectly plausible that they would be used as mentors either for their own districts or for districts who didn't have a mentor. You know, I'm sure Mags at some point would have had to mentor many other kids who did not have a victor from their district to mentor them. I don't have an issue with seeing names that we already know. We also see the training, we see the fact that these games produce something different. You've got the districts teaming up to take on the careers. What's figured out is all about the odds. You know, there are more of us than there are of them. If we band together, we have a better chance. This is all being brought about by Ampert, who is a District 3 tribute. Again, a young boy. I believe he's 12. He's BT's son. Yes, that BT. It's his idea to bring about this group of districts against the careers, and they call themselves the Newcomers. That's the name they come up with based on the name that they give new coal miners when they start in the mines in 12. And so it's quite interesting seeing this dynamic, that the fact that this might have been the start of the districts actually banding together against the careers in the capital, so they stand a chance. And Ampart is this bright, young, smart lad, and he knows he's in the games because of what his dad's done. BT is an extremely talented engineer. He got caught doing something he shouldn't do, and as punishment his son was reaped. Again, highlighting that the reapings can be rigged, probably always are rigged, and that the victors' children are not safe. Definitely if they step out of line, they're not safe, but also they're just not safe anyway. And you know, to twist the screw in a bit harder, BT is made to be his son's mentor. He has to watch his son go through the training and enter the Hunger Games. I thought, oh my god, that is really sick, that not only have you got your son in these games, but you are going to have to mentor him and watch him die. You are getting to witness his last hours alive by training for these games. And I think BT and Ampart are really sort of like stoic about it. They know this is going to happen. They know they're not going to get out. And BT actually says to Haymitch, don't let him suffer, make it quick. And then seeing what happens to him and knowing that Haymitch tried, and it's the line somewhere, I know BT's heart is shattered into 1,000 pieces. I mean, that scene, that was another put the book down and have a good cry and then attempt to pull myself back together. But definitely the word squirrels was banned in the house for a few days, I have to say. What is really clear throughout this book is the way the Capitol wants to tell the stories. The fact the live filming of the reapings has a 5-minute delay, so they can change things, redo things, or hide things as they happen. I wonder what happened between the 10th and the 50th games for that to be a standard. Did somebody in District 11 rise up? Because I have a feeling that's the district that would rise up. The fact that District 11 is always the one mentioned as more heavily guarded, with more peacekeepers, with higher fences and that. And it's like District 11 has a history of rebelling, and clearly it's because of the vast majority of people in District 11 are black people. and black people have notoriously suffered from oppression throughout American history and elsewhere in the world. So it's no surprise that Suzanne Collin has District 11 as the most oppressed group of people within Pan Am, because she made that choice. And also they're the agricultural district, and which group of people was known for working in the fields the most. Oh yeah, she's clever. I love Maisley. Maisley is such a unapologetic, I don't care. She's almost a prototype Joanna. She does not care. She is not taking any of the bullshit from the Capitol. She's not making it easy for them. She refuses to play nice, and I love her for that. She's calling them out. She knows she's not going to make it, but she's not going to let them beat her and bring her down. Oh, we go to the Heavensbee house, and Hamish has a little chat with Plutarch, a bit about the history. It's really interesting. The Heavensbees have a library, which somebody lovely pointed out on TikTok I came across. They have read books that are set outside Pan Am. They have knowledge of history. They have knowledge of other ways of doing and thinking. Which kind of explains the Heavensbee family line kind of being rebellious from the start. We see it in Songbirds and Snakes, and obviously we see it with Plutarch in the original trilogy. And he's playing a dangerous line here, because obviously he's enamouring himself to the president, but he's also trying to encourage Hamish to like play it, twist it, think about it. And then President Snow turns up and basically tries to freak out Hamish. But this is the President Snow that's just come from a poisoning. You know, those famous poisoning dinners that Finnick mentioned? So yeah, he's been to a dinner with the former organiser of the Chariot Parade, who had a terrible case of food poisoning from a bad batch of oysters. And we see Snow literally coughing up blood. He's clearly ingested the poison and that, and he calls for milk, and apparently there's milk in the fridge. And Hamish gets to the fridge, yeah, sure enough, there's a bottle of milk, and he literally guzzles it in one go. He drinks the whole lot, wipes his mouth, he goes, I'm terribly sorry, it's empty. And Plutarch covers for him. It's brilliant. Oh, I must talk to my servants and that. And it's like, Snow clearly knows that he's been played here, and he's in no fit state to argue about it. But then he goes on to taunt Hamish about Lenore, that he knows what type of girl she is, the fact she's from the Covey. Hamish is like, how do you know all this? And clearly Snow is thinking of Lucy Gray, and therefore he's tarred all her people with the same brush, because he's an arsehole. So Hamish is already like terrified, but he knows that he will play the game. He probably will not win the game, but he knows Lenore is safe. Or so he hopes anyway. What else? I mean, there's so many things in here. Obviously we've got the games themselves, which are the worst. The fact that it's all set in this beautiful environment that is literally everything is out to kill you, and yet we have these grey bunnies that are involved, and the grey bunnies reminds him of Lenore because her surname's Dove, which is a colour. We see the games play out. We see all the horrific deaths, all the different ways that these tributes die. We also see that it's not quite polished yet. We have game makers who actually come onto the arena to fix things and that, and they are surprisingly encountered at one point. And it's like, okay then, you know, it's not quite as automated yet. We still need actual hands to help out. Hamish is involved in this plan to break the arena. BT comes up with this idea: if we flood the computers underneath the arena will break and you stand a better chance. So he gets involved in this plan, but he's decided he's not going to risk anybody else's life. The only person who knows about the plan is obviously Ampart. So he decides to keep everybody else safe by saying that, you know, stay away from me, I've got a reputation. He got a 1 in the training because he basically had a go about the whole thing, and so they gave him a 1. So he goes, look, I've got a target on my back, stay away from me, I'm bad news, everyone who knows me will die, in order for him to complete this sabotage act without risking anybody else's life. So he does it on his own, and very much the way that BT goes about doing the sabotage in the Catching Fire arena, the TikTok clock, and only a few know. So again, in this big alliance we've got, only a few of the district tributes actually know what's going on. And he manages to do this. He does get underground, which is really cool. We actually see that there's an underground workings of the arena where everything comes up. And he does manage to break one of the water tanks in there. He floods it out, and it does short circuit things. So some of the poisons and the animals stop working in the way they should. So there's like that little thing. But it's not enough. The arena still exists. They still have the games to carry on playing. he hasn't done as much damage as he should have. So he's like, well, where's the generator? So he heads off to find the generator, which is just outside of Force Field, having fought his way through this horrific bush with these like fire, they're ladybugs, but they're like, they suck your blood and then explode, which, ooh. So yeah, you're literally being leeched by ladybirds. That is pretty, yeah, that is gross. Wouldn't have been so bad if they'd been leeches, because they have a reputation for doing that anyway, but a ladybird. And he can't get to the generator, so he's like stuff with that. But we have, you know, Maisley comes up and finds him, and she ends up being killed horrifically. And Haymitch keeps going on about being a poster, making your poster. And obviously throughout the districts and in the capital, there are posters that Haymitch sees and tells us about. No Hunger Games, no peace in the capital, no peacekeepers, no peace in the districts. So there's this idea, these slogans of promoting the capital's rule and everything. And Haymitch remembers, I can't remember if it was his dad, telling him about what poster you want to paint. And so for Haymitch, it all becomes about painting a poster. You know, what image do you want to send home to your friends and family in the districts, and also, you know, what image you want to send to the capital, and that how do you want your death or your actions to be portrayed, what poster are you painting. So when Maisley does die, he stops himself from tidying her up, because he knows this is the poster that she wants to present, the fact that she has died bloodily, she's died fighting for her life, she has died protecting those that she cares about. And I think that is really important to Haymitch, that everybody gets, from the District 12 at least, gets to paint their own poster. And he keeps going on about that. It's really important to him, to how we will be seen, how we be remembered. And the fact that the capital manages to twist all those powerful messages that they're trying to promote for their own stories and their own posters. Oh, I haven't even touched on the... So Luella is killed in the chariot, and they replace her. The capital deposit Haymitch with a young girl who looks very similar to Luella, but clearly has been traumatized and tortured and possibly surgically changed to resemble the young girl a bit more. And this poor girl can only say, "My name is Luella and I come from District 12." And she's clearly been tortured horrifically. And Haymitch is like, oh my God, you know, you've literally replaced her. You've replaced someone that you've killed to cover up your own mistake. Again, this is the capital feeding into what the story do we want to tell. Well, we don't want to tell people that we mucked up. The whole parade is actually edited hugely, so you don't see any of the cock-up. And so therefore you have to replace the death of a young girl, one of the tributes who's expected to go in the games. So they end up with this young girl, who they find out is from District 11. She picks a piece of bread and it's District 11 bread. And she's clearly got something in her ear that causes her pain when she tries to tell anybody anything. She struggles with her speech. She is a broken 12-year-old girl sent in to replace another 12-year-old girl that was broken by the capital. And it's horrific. And at first the District 12s are like, she's not one of ours, she's not ours, what do we do with her? And it's like, well, we've been told we have to have her, she's part of our thing, you know, we're not allowed to make any scene or fuss about this. So they go down to the training rooms the following morning, and they're also aware that the capital can be listening through the ear device. So they're like, this is, and they call her Lulu, because obviously it's not Luella, so they call her Lulu. And it's like, be careful what you say around her, because she doesn't really understand what's going on anymore. And clearly the other tributes, they know what happened, and they all treat her with like this, oh my God, kind of thing. And it's not until they're in the plane going to the arena with District 11's tributes that District 11 goes, hold on, she's one of ours. Why didn't you tell us? One, we weren't allowed to because they were listening, the District 11 tributes tweak. And well, we weren't certain until just now when she started singing Your Harvest Song, which the young District 11 kids learn when they go out in the fields. And they're like, well, you should have given her to her. No, she's one of ours. She's one of us. And it's this idea of found family. Luella was Haymitch's younger sister, even though she wasn't by blood. He adopted her, you know, Maisley and Watt becomes sister and brother in the arena, and later on Maisley becomes Haymitch's sister in the arena. Lulu is their sister that they will protect, and Watt protects her with his life. They are a found family in the arena, and I think because there's 4 of them this year, you see that bond bond really like cement itself of found family. So yeah, that was horrific as well, to find out that this is how the Capitol cover up the mistakes. And then I've seen people on TikTok talking about when Peter is rescued from 13, is Haymitch thinking, is that actually Peter, or is that someone else who's been brainwashed into thinking he's Peter? I mean, there's so many implications from ththese actions in Sunrise of the Reaping that could have an effect on how you read the later Hunger Games books, or the first Hunger Games books. Please read them in the Star Wars order. So there's that. It's been about a week since I finished this, and it's definitely haunting. It does weigh on you. It made me break many times. My husband had to keep giving me a bit of a hug. I keep having to reassure me, and it's like, are you really enjoying this? It's like, yes, but it's absolutely bloody awful what I'm reading. The fact that a power could do this to a group of individuals in order to sell their propaganda. I mean, Suzanne Collins said this book is about the use of propaganda and how propaganda is used in order to skew a story or an opinion, and we see that time and time again. I mean, when Haymitch finally does get out the games and he's finally allowed to go and do his victor's speech, he's made to watch the replay of the games on the screen, and he goes, it's been edited. Literally, the timelines don't make any sense because the way he's lived it, that's 6 days, whereas the timelines that are told is not 6 days. And it's cut all over the place, and bits are moved around to tell the narrative that the Capitol want to tell. And the whole thing with him rebelling about them taking Lulu's body after she's been killed in the arena, that's all gone. The whole bit with him flooding the brains, that's all gone. You know, when they find the game makers, that doesn't exist. They re-edit parts, so a completely different story is told, and it's like, oh my gosh, despite everything that the newcomers, that band of districts tried to do, the Capitol has just rewritten it. Just rewritten to tell the story that the Capitol want to tell. And it's awful. This one is probably the most brutal, and I know a lot of people don't like the fact that we don't get to see Haymitch mentoring future tributes. I don't think we need to see that trauma. I mean, Haymitch by the end of this book is completely and utterly broken. And not only does he have to go through winning the games and seeing everybody he has got to know die in horrific ways, and he's unable to save any of them. Not only does he have to deal with the fact that Snow has literally threatened him, threatened his family, because obviously he has played the Capitol at their own game. He's used their arena against the careers and against the Capitol itself in order to just survive. He was unable to save all the young ones. He goes, I don't know why, but all the young ones have flocked to me, and he can't save any of them. I mean, the death of Welly. I don't know if they'll ever show that in the film, but fucking hell, excuse my French, that's horrific. And it's the fact that, what's her name? I want to say Saley. I don't know if that's Saley or not. The fact that she turns around and says, I just want to go home, I want to go to my people. She may be a career tribute, but at the end of the day, she's still a kid who just wants to get home. And she does something horrific in order to do that. And Welly's death is pretty damn awful because it is so hands-on by another child. At least Ampart was killed by mutts, and, you know, what was killed in the frenzy of a battle protecting someone else. But Welly, she's just literally slaughtered by a child so the other one can go home. Awful. Anyway, so he has to deal with all that. He's on the train waiting to go back home. I thought, well, he sits there for ages in his little cabin. I say cabin, it's barely a cabin. And it's like, well, what's going on? Why have we not gone yet? Oh, we've just got to get your friends on board. They go in the cabin next to him in their boxes. And he's like, literally, you've got to ride home with the tributes that didn't make it. So he's in his, chained, because they still don't trust tributes. They don't treat them as chosen. They are still sacrifices as far as the Capitol is concerned. And so he's got 3 coffins with his 3 dead District 12 friends in there, who he's got to know really well. And Haymitch is like, clearly they've sent back Luella, but where did Lulu's body go? Because did she have anyone in District from 11? Did they send her back there? Was she taken to the Capitol to be used further? He doesn't know. And I think that's really haunting that we have this girl that's gone missing from another district, and she'll never be claimed by her family or loved ones, that she's literally been sucked up by the Capitol. Anyway, so he has to wait to go home with his friends, which the line that he says to Katniss, you're never getting off this train, really kind of hits home, because he's constantly going to be riding that train with his dead friends in the cabin beside him, and then every year he has to travel that train either to the Capitol with 2 tributes or back again with 2 dead tributes. He's never getting off that train. I mean, Hamish is so haunted at this point. And then, of course, we've got Hamish's recovery. He's got quite a mortal wound, and they patch him back together. He's getting slowly hooked on drugs. He's on a lot of pain medication. They keep him dosed up. So people going on about, oh, Astrid is currently getting the blame for Hamish being addicted to drink. And it's like, no, actually, the capital has got him addicted to drink by getting him on these drugs, and then they literally turn him cold turkey the minute he's sent back to the Victor's village that's been built in 12. And so Hamish is already having a huge hard time. He's having to cope with everything he's been through, all the trauma, all the loss that he's gone through, and he's also in horrific pain still from his mortal wounds, and they take the drug off him literally, so he's having to deal with withdrawal on top, and he's tormented, constantly being tormented by the capital. He's shown videos of other Hunger Games. He gets to see footage of District 12 from the Covey that they're singing the funeral song. Yes, it's a funeral song. When Lucy Gray sings to the snakes, that's a funeral song in District 12. She's singing her own funeral song, and we come across it. And so we see, it's believed to be Maud singing this song, and that he sees on a screen that is put in front of him. So he's constantly being taunted by the capital, by Snow, because Snow knows that Hamish was being rebellious, that he knows he was not playing the game the way the capital wanted to play it. So Snow's going to make Hamish suffer for it. And his parting shot of, I hope you enjoy your homecoming, isn't it? So he goes to Snow. Snow says, he merely smiles and says, enjoy your homecoming. I mean, this is part 3, chapter 26, page 347. And Hamish is about to go home, and he's just had Snow say that to you. You know this is not going to go well. I mean, we all know where Hamish ends up. And he goes home to go and find out what's going on. Has Lenore been released from being in the Peacekeepers' prisons because she was being slightly rebellious? And he gets home, and there's a fire at his house. He gets off the train, there's nobody there. The coffins are loaded onto the platform. He walks down the street and there's a fire, and his family home is on fire, and his mum and brother are inside. No one can get to him, and it's the last straw for Hamish. He cannot cope. He just can't cope anymore, and it's just terrible. And then on top of that, he's had to deal with his brother and mother dying, at which point we get the funeral. So obviously we get Watt, Maisley and Luella, and then we get Ma and Sid all being buried, and then Watt's dad has committed suicide, so he's also being, so we've got this mass funeral going on. They sing this funeral song, and Hamish sort of can't cope, and he sees Maisley's twin sister, and he calls her by Maisley and not her name, and he just falls apart completely and utterly over the fact of this, and Hamish just blames himself for everything. All the deaths that have happened, everything. And then he's like planning to get out with Lenore. I was like, we can't stay here, just can't stay here. And he's like, you know, do I take her with me? Do I leave her because she's not safe with me? Everybody who knows me, everybody who loves me is dead. And he starts cutting off from people. And he goes to meet up with Lenore in the meadow, and there are gumdrops. There are gumdrops, and before he left, he gave his bag of gumdrops, and they were going to go to Lenore, and he thinks those are the gumdrops in the meadow. So he gives them one. No, and she goes, you know, wow, I've got gumdrops that you gave me still under my pillow, and he realises that these gumdrops are from Snow. They're poisoned, they're blood red, and they're poisoned, and she is so hungry because she's not had any food for a while. She can't even throw up the gumdrops, so she dies. She dies in his arms. And there's this theory that all the milk and bread that Hamish was fed in his rehabilitation after the games has actually given him the antidote to the poison, which is why he doesn't react to the gumdrop. It's terrible. So his love, his soulmate, dies in his arms, having just been fed a sweet by his own hand, and Snow took everything away from him. And that's it. Hamish pushes everyone away. Burdock, who is Katniss's dad, he pushes him away. I mean, Burdock's like the last one to leave him. He shuts himself up in the home. He drinks sugar syrup when he can. If he can't, he starts buying the hard liquor. And all the way through the book, there's this whole thing about he doesn't touch alcohol. He won't drink. He doesn't like alcohol because obviously he sells it. He's seen what alcohol consumption does to people and that. He's seen how people become drunk and relying on it. And he just turns to drink. He just wants to forget it all. He wants to be numb to the world. He cannot cope because everything is his fault. So chapter 27, and I know this is a controversial one, we get the verses of The Raven from Edgar Allan Poe. It's the poem that Lenore is named after, because obviously you remember the Covey children are given the first name from a poem or ballad. The second name is a colour. So Lenore is from The Raven. So this effectively is the chapter where we watch Haymitch spiral into madness, in the same way that the poem The Raven, we watch a lover who has lost his soulmate, Lenore, fall into madness, haunted by a raven, again a bird, and we just watch literally Haymitch shut himself off from the world, very much in the way that Astrid does when Burdock will die in the future, the same way that Katniss does when Prim dies. We watch these people who have suffered immensely shut down from the world, and it's like, I don't blame Haymitch at all for turning to drink. Like I say, he's still on cold turkey drug withdrawal, and then he's literally witnessed all this trauma, all this death, he's lost everyone who he holds so dear, and the only way he knows to protect Burdock and the others is to keep them away from him. So he shuts everybody out. He shuts out everything that is bright in his life. He shuts it out in order to keep them safe, and he blames himself. So I don't think we need to see his mentorship the following year. He's already completely hit rock bottom at this point. There is nowhere left for him to go. There is no spark of hope. There's no spark of love in his life. And it's so sad seeing this young lad, I mean, again, he's 16, be completely and utterly destroyed, and have his story, his poster, used as propaganda by the Capitol to tell the story. And the fact that Snow has ultimate control over everything at this point, and Haymitch is just like, it's just not going to happen. And he finds out that Lenore was actually a rebel in her own way. She would deface signs that we've seen scattered about the districts, and that she was defacing them and fighting. But yeah, he's just haunted. We see the bit about him going on the victory tour, so we get that. So Effie has stepped up. She's taken on from Drusilla. I love Effie in this because she is clearly saying the Capitol's lines and everything. She believes wholeheartedly in what she's doing, but she's compassionate about it. And I think this is the start of Effie looking after Haymitch and making sure that he's okay, attempting to keep him fairly sober or even on his feet during the victory tour. She does care for him. So he has to do this horrific victory tour. He then has to go to this horrific party in the Capitol where he's kept in a bird cage. Here's the birds again. Snow's definitely got an issue with the mockingjays, hasn't he? It's still here. And so there's a lot of humiliation that Haymitch has to go through, and he just drinks himself through it. It's like, if I drink, I'm not here. And he knows this is all being shown back in the districts. He knows in District 12 this is being shown of him having a great time, drinking it up and having a whale of a time and everything. And he goes, I don't care anymore. It means nothing. There's interesting, at one point he does bump into Plutarch, and Plutarch is like, I do know you need someone different for me. No, Haymitch, we need someone exactly like you. Just luckier, I say. Luckier or with better timing. Having an army at their back wouldn't hurt. Yeah, where are you going to get an army, Plutarch? If we can't find one, we'll have to build one. But obviously finding one's easier. And then we can kill one another like back in the good old dark days. So Plutarch here is already trying to get Haymitch on board, trying to encourage him to join the rebellion and that. And it's so heartbreaking to see Haymitch being so sarcastic and flippant to him. And it's like, how can you talk about that? You have not lived through what I've lived through. You've not seen what I have seen. You are not to blame for what I have done. Haymitch is just full of guilt for every death at all. I do like that Haymitch calls him out. And then we got an epilogue right at the end, which is really sweet. And it's set after the Mockingjay, and it's during the time when Katniss and Peter create their memorial book, and Haymitch talks about finally the damn light breaking, and he comes out and he tells his own story, and he tells for all the tributes that he's had to mentor and that, which we know does happen. But he's constantly had Lenore, the ghost of Lenore, following him his entire life, and she's got old with him. And someone pointed out the parallel, the fact that Lucy Gray in Snow's mind never gets old, whereas Lenore gets old alongside Haymitch, and I think that really does reflect the difference in their love. Snow's is an ownership, it's compulsive, it's obsessive, whereas Haymitch and Lenore's love is genuine, it's a soulmate love, and that's why he sees her get old with him. And the fact he's told, you know, he hasn't got long to live, he's knackered his liver from all the drinking and that. I'm only dry out when the train's late, but I drink differently these days, though less to forget, more out of habit. When my time comes, it comes, but I've no idea when that will be. And then, I know one thing though, the capital can never take Lenore Dove from me again. They never really did in the first place. Nothing you can take from me was ever worth keeping, and she is the most precious thing I have never known. And when I tell her that, she always says, I love you like all fire. And I reply, I love you like all fire too. But Peter and Katniss, I mean, we know that they look after Haymitch and make sure that he has some functioning life, because obviously they understand what he's been through as well. And Peter sets up an incubator, Katniss goes and gets him goose eggs, and he ends up looking after geese, which is what Lenore used to do. She would have geese. And so it's kind of poetic that finally, when he's allowed to heal and stop fighting, he brings up geese, haunted by the ghost of his soulmate. And there's something very beautiful in that, the fact that Haymitch finally gets that almost forgiveness. He's forgiven himself, even though everything that happened was not his fault at all, but he's able to forgive himself and raise geese, drink out of habit, and wait to go and be with his soulmate. I think that's really sweet. There's a lovely scene where he is shown the graves where the Covey girls are buried. So there's a grave for Maud, Lucy and Lenore, and I think that's really sweet that they have one outside of District 12. So I saw someone else say that, which meant all those old graves and that would have been destroyed, but because those graves are outside District 12, they were never touched by the capital. This book is just, it's horrific to read. It's not a book you read for fun, but it is beautiful. It is full of horrible moments, it's full of shocking moments, but it's also full of moments where you hope, you start to believe, you know that there's people fighting back. Again, I think this adds so much to the other 4 books in the series. It doesn't diminish anything from them. It adds to the lore, it adds to the rebellion and how things end up at the end. But it is heartbreaking seeing how Haymitch got to be the way he is when he had so much to start off with, and the fact that it was all taken away from him. And he fought so hard and didn't quite make it, which is horrific. And the fact that his tale and Katniss's tale just sort of have so many parallels. Katniss was luckier. So, Sunrise on the Reaping. Obviously, there's loads of thoughts about this, so put them all down below in the comments. I'm aware I've got quite a bit further away from the camera there. Yeah, this is the new layout. I'm working on it, so it's not ideal at the moment, but I should give you a tour of the library in a bit in another video. Leave your thoughts down below about Sunrise on the Reaping. I know there's lots of theories about if we're going to get another book. Frankly, if we never get another book in the Hunger Games world, that would be okay with me. But I do think there's possibly another story to tell. It's whether Suzanne feels that she needs to say anything, whether we'll get it written or not. As always, thank you very much for watching and happy reading. Bye.